Hey everyone, I'm Rob Adams of the Actors Workshop, and welcome back to another episode of In the Abyss. So, like I said the last episode, I love the month of October. I love Halloween. I love the movies. I love all of that stuff. So, what I decided to do is I'm going to really try for each day of the month to watch a horror film. Um, this is not easy, especially when sometimes I have class at night. I get home and it's later in the evening. But so far, I'm 7 for 7. Today's October 8th. I will watch my movie tonight, but I've watched 7 so far for the first 7 days. And one of the things I'm trying to do is watch movies that I own that I haven't watched yet or have only seen parts of. And thus far, the closest to this period of time a film I've watched is 1972. A lot of these movies are older. And I will go over them real quick. And it's not really a review of the movies per se. I'll just tell you which ones I've watched. But one of the things I've discovered is with what you get with the older films is they don't mess around with unnecessary scenes. They don't mess around with, explaining everything that they're doing or plotting everything. Things just happen. And it just shows you as a viewer, we accept. We see what the director and the movie gives us, and we go, okay, and we watch the film. And when you look at some of these movies, I think the longest one I've watched so far is 77 minutes or 81 minutes or something like that. You're not looking at these 2.5, 3 hour movies because they just cut to the chase. Here's the movie, here you go, and boom. The other thing that I really recognize is that these actors really are who they are. They're not trying to play these characters. They're not trying to play the villain. They're not trying to be scary. None of that stuff happens. They are who they are. And it's straightforward and it's direct. And I think that's one of the reasons that's made some of these actors like Bela Lugosi and Vincent Price and Boris Karloff and Peter Cushing and these people so legendary in this field. I mean, when you can get a shirt and it's just Claude Rains as the Invisible Man, or Bela Lugosi as Dracula, or Vincent Price's face, and those things exist, it shows you how monumental they were to this genre and this period of time when these films were being made in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even some of the 30s. But that was one of the things I want to talk about in today's video is that we talk all the time. If you're working from in here, it's going to be acting, even if you're trying to be simple. But if you work from in here, you're always going to be authentically real, even if it's huge. And I think that that's where these actors really nail it, is they work from in here. They are who they are. And so at times when it seems like there's a high energy and it's strong, it's still authentic because it's coming from them, because they believe they are who they are. This is who I am in this situation. And if anything I can push forward in this video from the acting standpoint is be who you are in the situation. Don't try to play it. Don't try to play it simple. Don't try to play it big. Don't play ideas. Play the reality. And the reality comes from dealing. You're dealing with situations and you're dealing with the people that you're working off of, or the one person, whatever it is. And if you trust that, you'll be you, because that's what triggers our instincts. And our instincts are what makes us us. All of our instincts are different. All our personalities are different, triggered by instincts, right? So if you are really truthfully in the situation, I mean, the bottom line is, if you were Dracula, you'd be Dracula. You wouldn't be playing Dracula, right? That's the whole thing. So if you were invisible, you'd be invisible. You wouldn't be trying to act invisible. Just be it. And then use the people you're working with. Use the situation you're in, just like we do in real life. And all of a sudden, it's natural. So it doesn't matter if it's here or it's down here, it's going to be natural. Don't work from your brain. Work from your soul. It's in here, not in here. Actors want to work in here. I want to play. I want to pretend. No! For stage, sure. Okay? Perform for the audience. Entertain the audience. But if you want to be film actors, it's here. And here means your eyes. So you better be strong in your eyes. Your eyes aren't the windows to your brain. The eyes are the windows to your soul. Right? So if you're going to work from in here, you better work from in here. Period. So with that being said, that's what I've learned so far with the 7 films I have watched. Okay, is that the films themselves just straightforward. Here you go. No excess footage, no excess time. It's just, it is what it is. It's great. Second thing is these actors really believe, and that's the key. And it's made so far the first 7 really enjoyable. All right, so real quick, October 1st, I did Murders in the Rue Morgue. I flipped the artwork so you get to see the other side now that I showed you guys in the last episode. Bela Lugosi. The title is based off of Poe's story. The story is really not based off of Poe's story, but you get elements of things. This is 1932. King Kong comes out in 33, but in this story, Bela Lugosi is like a carnival guy, and he has an ape, a gorilla, and he's trying to show the audience how the gorilla is connected to man. He's talking about evolution. And of course, the gorilla sees this beautiful woman and becomes enamored of her. And, kind of a King Kong story, but unique in its own way. And, Bela Lugosi it's funny because they promote it. Look at the eyes. Bela Lugosi had those eyes. He had that way about him, especially as Dracula, where he would open the eyes and pull you into the trance. Well, he uses that in all of his work because that's who he was. And I think that's the thing. As soon as this movie happens, so this is 32, it's right after Dracula, right? And the first thing you get is he starts to talk, good evening, to the people walking in the tent. And you're like, oh, that's Dracula, right? But that's how he sounded. So what you start to realize is Dracula is Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi is Dracula. He's not putting on that voice for Dracula. That's the way he spoke. So anyways, I'll give this movie a solid B. It is a Universal, right in the heyday of all these guys. And you know what's cool about the Universal monster movies? We know about Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, Creature of the Black Lagoon, Invisible Man, Phantom of the Opera, all the famous ones, Wolfman. What we don't know is there's so many movies made with those same actors in between those monster movies, based on Poe's work. We have The Black Cat. We have, like I said, Murders in the Rue Morgue. I'm trying to think of a couple off the top. The Raven, just to name a few that I can think of off the top of my head. So there's some I still have to buy. I'm kind of curious to get it and check out, but that one is in that line. All right, so on October 2nd, I did the original 1958, The Fly, starring Vincent Price. He's kind of a supporting role in this, but also a lead, and does a really good job. And like I explained last week, this is very different. It's the same but different than the remake with Jeff Goldblum, which, by the way, I love that movie as well. But there is parts of this that are very different in how they do The Fly and the whole 9 yards. But also you have to realize, one is in the mid-'80s and this one is in the late 50s. So, you're going to have different ways of technology to be able to create things in the 80s even compared to the 50s. But to me, when it comes to the horror genre, there was no one better than Vincent Price. Vincent Price could just be whoever he was supposed to be. And it's just the way his voice sounded and the way he was and the way he, just how his presence was that just kind of worked for these kinds of films. And he does just such a good job in this. Yeah, there's some corniness to it. It's The Fly. But it was fun to watch, and it was good to see it in its entirety because I had only seen parts of this in the past. So it's definitely worth a watch, which triggered me to watch the next day, October 3rd, the 1959, The Return of the Fly, starring Vincent Price. And I have it in this Vincent Price collection, which comes with 7 of his movies. So I will probably be coming back to this throughout the month. It was good because they put a good twist on it. The only returning actor from the original, of course, is Vincent Price. And the way they kind of put the twist on the newer story, I thought was really well done and creative. And it was a good connection to the original Fly. And like with most sequels, it's not as good, but it is still a pretty strong film. And I didn't love the ending, kind of corny, but once again, 1959, I'll take it. I'm happy to see these films, and that they're back on media and we're able to watch them is so awesome that I just love them. I remember looking at Amy and saying, "Man, I just love these movies. It's so fun. Isn't this great? It's just they're simple, they're straightforward, and we get to watch them, you know, and it's super cool." So, like I said before, hopefully you guys can find these on Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming systems you do. You can see that I buy them, but they're worth giving a shot. All right, so on October 4th, I went with Horror Express, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. You've heard me say many times in a video, I love movies based on trains. Some of my favorite movies are in those, and also on houses. This is basically, I mean, it's called the Horror Express. It's basically based on a train. Without giving too much away, Christopher Lee is a scientist explorer, and he finds an old fossil and brings it along this train. But there's more to it than that, and things start to happen. And this was one of those ones where it's just straightforward. There's no plotting and planning why they're doing what they're doing. They just end up doing them, and it is what it is, and we accept it. And this was really the movie that I sat there and said, okay, you don't need all those extra scenes. You don't need to be told every single thing. It is what it is, right? And this was a great example of that. And it cut down so much unnecessary time that it makes the film enjoyable to watch without lingering, right? 1972, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, you know, they were ones that we talked about several times through past episodes, go on to do Star Wars films. And then Telly Savalas, of course, who was Kojak in the TV series. But another fun, different type of film. And they really deal with this fictitious circumstance as real as possible. And that's what makes it work, because they make it feel like it's real to the viewer. And that's kind of what I was explaining in the video earlier, is you want that feeling yourself in the work, but you want the audience to feel it with you. All right, so October 5th, I go back to Bela Lugosi and the Invisible Ghost. 64 minutes, right? Straightforward. Bela Lugosi. He is a respected. I don't know what his job is. He's respected in the community. Straightforward guy. Daughter lives with him. Wife has been gone for 7 years or something like that, right around that time. And periodically, he sees her at night, which sends him into a trance. I'm not ruining the movie. You'll see this right away. But when he goes into the trance, it's almost like the director said to him, do your Dracula. Get your eyes big, do the hands, and used it. And it's pretty cool to see. This is one of those movies that we talked about that he did after he was done with Universal, and he signed like a 8-picture deal with a small production company, and this was the first of the 8 films that he did with that company. And from what I've read and understand, this is one of the better ones, and I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was an interesting movie. I thought it had some interesting twists, and in 64 minutes, there's no filler, right? This happens, and then that happens, and then this happens, and then that happens, and all that extra stuff that we really don't need is gone. And then once again, you give me Bela Lugosi, and it's game over. I love the guy. I think he's great at what he does. He understands who and what he was, and brings that to the camera in an honest way. And I thought the supporting cast was great. It was a really entertaining film. I didn't grade the other ones. I'll give The Fly a B+. I'll give The Return of the Fly a B. I'll give Horror Express a B+. I'm giving The Invisible Ghost an A-. And moving on to October 6th with The Invisible Man Returns. And this is another box set with Invisible Man movies, so I'll probably be revisiting this box set like the Vincent Price one. Of course, the original one, Claude Rains. The second one is connected to the first one. It is a sequel, but the way they do it has a really interesting twist. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was great. Vincent Price is um, the Invisible Man in this, 1941. So he's really, really young in this. But this is a great example of your presence carrying you because you don't see him. He's not in the film. Now he is, because when you do see the body, he's in a suit and then has the tape and the glasses. But you never see him throughout the film until the end. The whole film, he's either invisible or you see his body. So you either hear his voice or you see his body and hear his voice. So his presence is really strong through his energy, his conversation, and his conviction. And he does such a great job with that. And because he has that unique sound to his voice and has that conviction that makes him unique, think about, for those who don't really know who Vincent Price is, think about the spoken word in Thriller. Everybody knows the song Thriller, and everybody knows that spoken part at the end. That's Vincent Price, right? And you guys know that voice. Well, that's what you're hearing in Return. The Invisible Man Returns is that voice, right? Just a younger version of it. And because of who he is, and he's the master of horror and stuff like that, it really makes The Invisible Man Returns a really good sequel. And I love the original. It's one of my favorites. I give it an A-. I thought it was terrific. I enjoyed it. I thought he was great in it. I thought the supporting cast was great. The leading actress, right when she comes on screen, I looked at Amy and I said, wow, that is a really beautiful woman. And she's like, yeah, I mean, for the time, how elegant she was and how she looked, and she was just great. So I looked her up. Her name was Nan Gray. She did some work, not a lot of work, but she was in this. I thought she was terrific, and she was striking in front of the camera. And it's kind of neat when you're able to look up old actors and actresses and see what they did. And she was part of that, horror genre when she did work. But this was probably her biggest film, and I thought that she did a really, really good job. Like I said, she really pulled your eyes to her when she was on camera. And then you add, the Vincent Price presence, and a really enjoyable film. All right, so last night I went with The Vampire, which is kind of an obscure film. I got it through an online company for $7.95. It's going out of print. And so I wanted to grab it. I heard a lot of good stuff about it. And actually, when I talked about it last week, I said, I guess it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde with a vampire. I was wrong. After watching it, I really had the feel of the original Wolfman film. And instead of him turning into the Wolfman, he's turning into a vampire. Now, how he gets to that point is not like being bitten. He wasn't bitten by a vampire and become a vampire, the same way that a vampire becomes a vampire, or you become a werewolf by being bitten by one, right? It's different. He's a doctor. He knows a scientist. Some things happen. I don't want to ruin the movie because if you guys want to watch it, but it changes him into the vampire. I mean, the name's The Vampire. I'm not really giving anything away. But what's cool about it is that, like I said, it had a Wolfman feel to it, but it was different. And this is 1957. Another one that was different, and it was good, and it's unique, but it's not unique. And it has that formula of horror films, especially for that time, and I thought it was really good. The other thing I liked about it was there's no name actors in this. The only guy I recognized was the one guy who played the Reverend on Little House on the Prairie. And I don't remember his name, but when I saw him, I recognized him. Oh yeah, And so he is. I'm like, Amy, wasn't he on Little House? And she's like, yeah, he was the Reverend. Like, that's how you recognize him, but don't know his name. And you guys know who I'm talking about if you looked him up. But anyways, I kind of like that. And he had a great relationship with his daughter. So the girl who plays his daughter has a lot of work, and she does a good job with him, the lead actor, whose name is John Beale. He did a really nice job. Kind of reminded me of Lon Chaney Jr., as a matter of fact. So I think maybe the idea behind this was to get the feel of the Wolfman after seeing it. But you guys should watch it. Give it a shot. I give it a solid B. So far, I mean, nothing below a B. I've really enjoyed these. Now, you may watch them and go, Rob, what are you talking about? I like this genre of film, and I like this period of film. So I'm just really enjoying them so far. The funny thing is, I really don't know what I'm going to watch until it's time to watch it. So like for tonight, we'll see. We'll see when the time comes. But like I said, they're all they hit me, and then I get to watch these and review them. And I'll do a different way of reviewing them for you guys every week. And I'm definitely going to try to tie in the acting aspect of it as well, like we did today. But two things: remember, work from a place of honesty, authenticity. And then number two, watch these movies. We're actors. This is our studying. This is our homework. This is what we do. Enjoy them. I think it's great. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you sometime next week with our next video. If you have any questions, please reach out. You can leave a comment in the comment section or drop me an email at theactorsworkshop@cox.net or from the website, theactorsworkshop.com. And also make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Have a good rest of the week and weekend, and I'll see you soon.